Thank you, Miri. Always fascinating to hear Miri. And today, by the way, I had a phone call from a diplomat, a Swedish diplomat, Danish, and we were speaking, and she was trying to understand the role of the IDF soldiers and how we treat our soldiers, and it's around the issue of the risks of the lives of soldiers. And she was explaining to me what she understands of the society and how the soldiers here are our children and our brothers, and they are connected, and it's part of the society, and it's so different in other countries, and it's difficult for her to explain it to her government. So it's exactly the gap, one of the gaps we were talking about. And now I have the pleasure of introducing our last speaker for tonight, Michel Kichka. And we are going to stay in the media world, but we will move to the images, and we'll ask Michel to talk about the use of images in the campaign against Israel, and especially those relating to the Holocaust. So you really linked us to our next speaker. What is legitimate and what isn't, and where does the line cross?
First of all, congratulations to you, Abe. And thank you, not only congratulations. To congratulate you is too easy. We have to thank you for what you do, you have done, and you are going to do when you retire. Now, I come from the field of cartoon, political cartoon, and the field of political cartoon became a battlefield in the world. And we were very aware of it after the riots in 2006, after the publication in Denmark, in the Jyllands-Posten newspaper, of the 12 Muhammad cartoons. And I'm a member of a group called Cartooning for Peace that has been created by Plantu, the leading cartoonist of Le Monde. This is an international group, movement. We are 120 cartoonists from all over the world, from all religions and all beliefs and all faiths. And we try to prove that we can use cartoons, and that cartoon can be used to bridge gaps and not to make hatred going and growing. So I want to share with you some of my experiences in that field. I was a member of the jury of a very famous international cartoon contest in Portugal, in Sintra. This is called the WordPress cartoon. And I was very, let's say, proud to be a part of the jury. And we were 4 members of the jury, one from Canada, a woman from Spain, Plantu from France, and myself. And the president was Antonio, who is the Portugal leading cartoonist. And this competition is based on 3 categories: political cartoons, caricatures, and humor. 1 day to each of those categories. On the 3rd day, we had to deal with political cartoon. That was in 2010. And after the 1st and the 2nd and the 3rd selection, we got on the table the 5 nominees. And we had to give the award gold medal, silver medal, and bronze medal. And 2 of the jury members, the Canadian and the Spanish, wanted this cartoon from Kontouris, a Greek, very talented cartoonist, to be the gold medal. The French agreed with me that it should not. But I was in such a, let's say, state of emotion, because I'm a son of a survivor, because I'm Jewish, because I'm Israeli. I cannot accept a cartoon in which a survivor or a prisoner of the camp, a Jewish prisoner of the camps, considers an Israeli soldier as a Nazi. I cannot accept this. I accept a lot of criticism against Israel. I myself do it every day in my work. And so when we got to vote, I said, listen, you will do whatever you want. But because as a member of the jury, I'm obliged to sign my name on the award, I will not sign my name if you give a prize, an award to this cartoon. I cannot. I cannot accept it and I will resign. That was very clear. So we were the French and me, and the Canadian and the Spanish, and the Portuguese one looked at me in the white of my eyes, who were red, and he said, I agree with you. And that was the end of the debate. And this cartoon was selected in the exhibition, but it got no award. And it is just an example, a sample of what is happening. Now, I want to show you another cartoon of this really talented cartoonist. It was after one of the operations of the Gaza against Israel against Gaza. I think it's a very good cartoon. I think the cartoon shows there are two sides in the conflict. And once we were considered, Israel and the Jewish people in 1967, we were considered to be the David in the David and Goliath situation. And now it's the contrary. And we cannot deny it. So I cannot say Cartoonist is an anti-Semitic. I cannot say even he's anti-Zionist. He's a cartoonist who expresses himself, is provocative, because this is the essence of our profession. And he dislikes the Israeli policy, the same that a huge part of the Israeli population. And he shows it in this cartoon, and it is right. Another cartoon he did last summer. This is, okay, Israel bombing Gaza, but there are civilians in Gaza, not only Hamas people. So I think this cartoon, somehow, I can accept it. I can even agree with him. And so I think that putting a sticker on people when they do cartoon that you dislike as a Jewish or as an Israeli and telling they are anti-Semitic or being anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic, and you talked about it in your speech, that's a very thin limit, a very thin border between the two. So now another cartoon. Okay? Yes, please. Mr.
This
Foxman.
is okay, you're saying? But this is a sign of pride. This shows that the Israeli pilots are proud because you put that sticker.
I know.
Yes.
On your gun, on your planes.
So it's not just it happens. It says that the Israeli pilots are proud. That doesn't cross that line?
Listen, this is a cartoon. This is a cartoon, and in the cartoon he is provoking. Okay? He does it by purpose. He dislikes our operation, and he says what all the media say. It tells about the disproportion, okay? But he also, in the subtext, and you're right, I agree with you, in the subtext he say that those pilots are proud of doing what they are doing, and this is a point we can disagree on, totally, okay? But we cannot disagree with the fact that there's civilian population will be suffering in Gaza, and this is a part of the war, and if you like it or not, is the reality. Another cartoon that you probably have heard about in your organization is this cartoon of one of the most famous cartoonists of the world, Gerald Scarfe. He was responsible for the animated movie The Wall of the Pink Floyd, one of the best in the 80s. And that cartoon was published 1 year and some ago in the Sunday Time. And it is Bibi Netanyahu building a wall, call it a wall, a separation wall. Arabs are taken inside, and he constructs the wall with blood, with their own blood. And so there was a buzz in the press, in the net, and I brought this cartoon to my students in Bezalel. I screened it in big size and said, is it or not anti-Semitic? What do you think? And one of my students, a new immigrant from Russia, a young boy, talented boy, told me that he accepts everything in the cartoon but the red color. And if this cartoon was, if the cement was this color, look what the difference is. So the red color is the expression of his, let's say, provocative hatred somehow, and he can't stop, he can't help. He's obliged to do that because I will show you other work of Gerald Scarfe. This is about Bashar al-Assad. Two cartoons that have been published during this everlasting civil war in Syria. He loves red color, okay? He cannot claim that he does not. Another British cartoonist is Dave Brown. Also, this cartoon was in the middle of a controversy, not because only of the cartoon in which he compares Sharon to this Goya masterpiece, and Sharon is eating a Palestinian child. That was during the Jenin operation. But also because this cartoon was awarded the best British cartoon of the year. And that was a political choice of the British to attack Israel through this platform and to consider that Sharon is actually like those who draw on the plane like blood and Palestinian blood and Palestinian children, Palestinian blood. And this cartoon was shown in demonstrations. Probably you can say if it's in Indonesia or in some other country. It's not here. The guy in the middle looks like an Indian. But this cartoon was used widely to attack Israel. But I want to show you that Gerald Scarfe drew Margaret Thatcher exactly the same way, eating, who is the guy? Heath? Yes, Major. Thank you. So he's not the only one to use this famous masterpiece. This is a cartoon about what happened in Gaza last summer. I could not read the name of the cartoonist, I'm sorry, but the same idea. Look, you have doves, they are knocked and killed by a Hamas arm and an Israeli arm, okay? But the same cartoon was done in Israel, the same idea by Guy Morad, who is the leading cartoonist of Yediot Ahronot, and it's totally different. No hatred, it's just Bibi Netanyahu punching the Hamas like a boy with a toy, and Obama saying that he will turn the light off, and the game is over, and he said, oh, I haven't finished the game. Okay, this is a way to criticize, very legitimate. Now I want to talk about the worst anti-Semitic cartoonist I ever. I never met him, but his work, I meet it all the time, is Carlos Latouf. He's from Brazil. He is very active in BDS, and his cartoons are obsessively anti-Semitic, and he all the time compares Israel to the Nazis and the Jewish to the Nazis, and you cannot suffer it. Simply, you cannot suffer it, and this is the cartoon who won the second prize in the Iranian competition in 2006. Okay, and me, myself, as you yourself, as some of the people here in the audience that have their parents or grandparents wearing those uniforms, we cannot suffer this. We cannot suffer this comparison. And it is all based on ignorance. It is so simple on an ignorance ground to grow up such feelings. This is another cartoon of him. No comments. I have nothing to add. This is Sharon, if you don't recognize him, okay? The guy on the right, you recognize him. This is another cartoon that Carlos Latouf did. Okay, this is the Gaza Strip. This tomb, this grave is the Gaza Strip. And the soldier is simply a Nazi with a Nazi helmet, with a Luger. He just has a Magen David on his arm. It's so unsophisticated. It's so terrible. And there are so many people who are convinced because cartoon has a very strong impact because it's visual. You can be an alphabet and understand a cartoon. Another one of him, okay? And I want to show you there are different ways. I want to show you how my friends and colleagues from Cartooning for Peace drew the same idea in a different way. This is a cartoon by Patrick Chapat, one of the best cartoonists in the world. He's from Switzerland, works in New York Times, Herald Tribune, Le Temps in Geneva, and a German newspaper in Bern. And he shows a common grave in a common ground belonging to two people who claim it, but for now they are burying their dead. Another one, a Belgian one. I used to be Belgian, okay? A good friend of mine, Pierre Kroll. He works in Le Soir, the leading newspaper in Belgium. Israel-Palestine sharing the land. And you know, every time he puts a cartoon on Israel in the newspaper, he gets letters that he is an anti-Semitic, and he's complaining to me and sending me mails and asking me to defend him. That's what I do. He's not anti-Semitic. Look, they all have a big nose. Now, another cartoon of Latouf, And it hurts me because he's somehow, how can I put it? He's stealing my history. He's stealing my past. He's stealing my family history, my people's history. He's hijacking them to manipulate them and to make people believe that we are doing in Gaza exactly what was done in Auschwitz and Birkenau and other camps. And another one, so I took a short selection. Another one of him. Benvido a Palestina, welcome to Palestine. And I want to show you a very intelligent cartoon in which, for a Jewish Israeli cartoonist, it's very delicate to use the Shoah as a reference to our cartoons. If you remember, during the disengagement from Gaza, the first settlers from Gaza, the day that Sahel came to their doors, they had an orange David Star on their breast, and they were hardly criticized by the leaders of the settlers. And the day after, they dropped it. But on that day, my friend and colleague Arnon Avni from Kibbutz Nirim did that cartoon. Chutzpah will liberate you, not Arbeit macht frei. And I think that was a very strong way to react to a very strong and bad, let's say, idea that the leaders of these settlers had. And I think it's a courageous cartoon. And this is a cartoon by Antonio, the director of this festival. This is Bibi Netanyahu, and making his star on a piece of land, okay? And he drew him as a religious, a way to say he's manipulated by extremist religious. It's borderline, I can say. This is, to me, to my opinion, a very intelligent cartoon made by a Lebanese cartoonist, Habib Haddad. He lives in France. He has emigrated to France 30 years ago, and he publishes in Al Hayat in London. And this is about the day, Yom Adama, okay? How do you say it in English? Day of Earth? Land. Okay, Yom Adama. This is the day that they demonstrate. It is parallel to Nakba, more or less, in their narrative. And the way he criticizes Israel with no hatred. And he tries to express the feeling of those Palestinians, making this guy working the land in the little place that Israel, in the West Bank, let him do the work. I think it's a very, let's say, intelligent way to tell me things. And I can accept this, and I can discuss with such a guy, because there's something to talk about. So, I mean, today to be a cartoonist, you also must be somehow intelligent, and it's not easy. This is another cartoon of Guy Morad that was published during last summer in Yediot Acharonot. This is a very, let's say, clever use of the sign dead end. This is a way to try to express something. And those who live here know, and those who know Israel know, but those who not probably don't know. That was very hard, to have a free speech criticizing some of the operations that were done in Gaza last summer. Some people paid a price for that. And it was courageous for the newspaper to publish this cartoon, because this is not an easy cartoon. This is a cartoon of Arnon Avni from Kibbutz Nirim. The children of the Otef Aza, okay, all the settlements around Aza were brought to kibbutz in Galilee, in other parts of the country during the war. And this little Jewish boy from Nirim, which is the kibbutz, asked his mother, and where are the Palestinian children taken to? Which is a legitimate question. But this question was considered illegitimate during last summer by Israel itself. So that was not easy to express ourselves as cartoonists against things that you were against, and supporting in the same way our soldiers. My son were called to the army. I'm a Zionist. I love this country. And I have things to say, and I try to say this in my work. This is a Dutch cartoonist, shot, very talented. And I thought that we received SMS alert before. Another one that I did, Okay, I'm cutting. You stupid, I told you the iron dome, not the gold dome. Okay? So because I was trying also in some of my cartoon that I was putting online and showing on I-24 News every Friday morning to look for some relief, for some humor in the situation. This is another one I did about the election. Okay, I will run away. This is Bibi and his obsession in Iran. Apocalypse Now, movie by Bibi, screenplay Bibi, director Bibi, producer Bibi. I try to enjoy by making my cartoon to say something also and to make people laugh, and I'm glad that you laughed a little. That was the day when the Palestine delegation was accepted as observer in the United Nations. So I did the parallel of the Declaration of the Independence, Ben-Gurion with Herzl on the back, 29 November, and Mahmoud Abbas with Arafat, okay? When Bibi wanted so much to have his talk in the Congress. So I do the best I can to deal with the situation, to express myself. And now, last minute, just give me. On the day the awards were given to the cartoonists who have participated in Iran to the anti-Semitic cartoon contest, I was in front of my screen at home. It was in December. And my wife told me, you have to react, do something. And I said, I am unable to react. This is so extreme. This is so terrible. I have no idea. What can I do? And she just told me, draw your father with his number, and Ahmadinejad tried to erase it. That's what I did. This is the only time, the first and only time in my life that I did a cartoon which was not mine. And I'm glad to say that not only that was my wife's one, but 2 years later I was invited to Doha to a conference on freedom of press in Qatar, and I showed this cartoon to the audience, 200 journalists from the Arab world, telling that the Arab world should know more about the Holocaust. And this is the cover of my personal graphic novel, Second Generation, that has been in French, Hebrew, not yet in English. When it will be, I will offer it to you. Thank you very much.